Hello Internet, I'm the Disney Brain and welcome to another edition of The Top. This time around, we'll be diving into a video I've wanted to make for a while. I know you guys love the Disney stuff, but it would mean a lot if you also supported the broader stuff as well, as I slowly try to expand this channel to wherever the limits are. There'll be plenty of Disney videos on the way, trust me. But for now, let's talk about the best films of 2015. Agree? Disagree? Comment down below with your own favorites. I look forward to hearing them. With all that said, let's kick things off with number 10. This just might be the most timely movie of the previous year, diving into the racial discrimination of the 80s while still feeling undeniably recent. If you like this group, or just powerfully impactful rap in general, you'll get a lot out of this movie, but it also really works as a cinematic experience too, with some great moments both in terms of writing and acting. Many have argued that this movie is an Oscar snub, and I would probably think along the same lines, but that's because of the direction more than anything. F. Gary Gray directed the heck out of this film, and that needs to be recognized. I'm more of a rock-pop guy myself, not terribly into rap or hip-hop music, but this movie reminded me of what that genre can be at its best, instead of whatever nonsense rappers today are flinging out there. Some of the complaints about this movie are valid, but for my money, they don't really matter that much since this is arguably the second best film about dinosaurs ever made. The characters are flat, the plotline is standard, and the movie is almost overly self-aware. But at the end of the day, this movie made bank at the box office because its lead actors weren't Chris Pratt or even Bryce Dallas Howard. It's the dinosaurs. That's what everyone came to see, and that's what delivered. They ruled over the planet once, and this film proved that they could do it again. That final fight scene with the T-Rex showing up near the end is a powerful moment that only this film could have captured. Now, let's see how they handle the sequel in a few years. Marvel's tiniest hero made a huge impact on the landscape of superhero movies, proving once again that Marvel Studios is, for the time being, immune to failure. If you've seen it, you know exactly how fun, quirky, and engaging the film was. The entire cast played their parts better than I would have expected, and the shrinking mechanics really work in a 21st century medium where the only other good movie with a similar plot point was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I don't know about everyone else, but man, I am excited for Civil War. A movie painfully underwatched is undeniably one of the best filmed, paced, and acted movies of the year. The legend himself in Steven Spielberg is back to direct this one in a story that at the end of the day is about Tom Hanks portraying a man with almost Captain America-like spirit, who holds to the virtues of truth and justice despite the fact that he's defending what could very well be a Soviet spy. The obvious comparison here is To Kill a Mockingbird, but this movie is way more geopolitical than that, so it naturally feels a bit more grandiose. If you haven't watched it, check out that brilliant plane scene about an hour in. You're welcome. Perhaps a disappointing movie for some and undoubtedly the least memorable of the two Avengers movies so far. However, this movie more than delivers on its own merits despite its flaws. In fact, the character interactions, the acting in general, and the way certain scenes are filmed are actually an improvement on the original. This felt much more like a reasonably gritty film as opposed to the more colorful comic book style of the original. Ultron is a solid villain within a scope of films that desperately needed someone at least close to Loki, and it sets things up pretty nicely for events to come, which is kind of what it had to do. It had a sizable task and didn't quite accomplish everything it set off to do, but it's still one of the best movies of the year. I was really happy to see both this film and the talented Matt Damon both get Oscar nominations for this. At its core, it's a movie that places more value on problem solving than explosions or overly dramatic moments, which is already so distinct from most of the blockbusters we get nowadays. Matt Damon is really on his own for much of this film, so he really had to bring his A-game, and I think he did just that. The entire cast is pretty fantastic, but this movie would not be nearly as memorable or as good without Damon anchoring it all while isolated on Mars for most of the film. There's plenty in this movie for space nerds like me to laud about, in addition to being genuinely funny and incredibly gripping. A powerful combination, but not quite my pick for Best Picture. Stay tuned. Room is my pick for Best Picture of the year, and if the Oscars missed this gem, they would have gotten this award so very wrong. This is the kind of film you've absolutely never seen before, but you absolutely must see. The Smith family has been complaining endlessly over the race bias of the Oscars, which is undeniably there. But guess what, Fresh Prince? Oscars are earned, not begged for, and if you want one next year, try not getting out-acted by a 5-year-old. Yeah, I said it. Jacob Tremblay is a godsend for this film, and the fact that he hasn't already been declared the unanimous winner for Best Actor in a Lead Role, or even Supporting Role for that matter, is a travesty. His performance sets the bar so very high for child actors that everything else is going to look foolish in comparison. I don't know how he did it. I don't know how these filmmakers created something this incredible, but people, just watch it, and you'll understand. Unlike The Incoming 3, I've only seen this movie once, but it could easily be a top 2 movie for 2015 once I've had more time to digest it. Star Wars is a genre-defining film. Heck, it might be the one series of films that defines movie making in general. To see its revival and subsequent success was one of the greatest things I could have hoped for when I learned that episodes 7 through 9 were coming out. I have a more complete review also on this channel for those interested, but if you for some reason haven't seen it yet, do it already. No, seriously, pause this video, it'll be here when you get back, and go watch it. It's fun, it's energetic, and it's basically everything you'd want out of a Star Wars movie that embraces its fans and its proud heritage. Daisy Ridley is perfect as Rey, John Boyega is engaging as Finn, and I'm actually very excited to see what's next for Kylo Ren. After I saw this movie premiere at about 1 AM or so, I didn't want to leave the theater. That's how great it was. But just narrowly edging it out was another franchise I've grown more than a little attached to. Yeah, go ahead and make all the lame jokes about fast cars and scantily clad women that you want, but at the end of the day, the Fast and Furious franchise is a global phenomenon because of family. Cool stunts definitely help, make no mistake, especially in foreign markets where explosions are way easier to translate than actual conversations. But these movies have been slowly and carefully building up this idea of brothers by bonds and never shoving it in our face. I'm a guy who has friends from all manner of backgrounds, and the people I consider my best friends are literally from all around the world, so this message really hits home for me. As a complete film, it may not be as objectively good as 6, but this film carries the heavy heart of having to handle the tragic passing of Paul Walker. You can feel that vibe throughout the entire movie, and it nearly brought me to tears twice. That is, until the very last scene where I actually broke down in tears. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of ridiculousness to go around in the action department, but this movie absolutely delivers one of the most powerful tributes to a fallen friend that I've ever witnessed. I will never forget the emotions I felt watching this movie from beginning to end, and if that's not the mark of an exceptional film, nothing is. Speaking of emotions, easily the best Pixar movie since The Incredibles, and easily a bigger Oscar snub than, yes, even Will Smith. Sorry, Fresh Prince. The concept in and of itself is genius enough, but then to make it work at such a high level, the way only Pixar can, remarkable. There is no other movie like this, which is a big reason it eclipses movies coming out of some of my favorite franchises. It has heart, it has brains, it's perfectly scored, and the jokes they pull out are some of the most clever I've ever heard on screen. The voice actors were perfectly cast in this, especially Lewis Black, who seamlessly encompasses the emotion of anger. But even without the emotions themselves, the story about a young girl named Riley moving to a strange new city is something so relatable and her emotional reactions so real that it could have been a great movie even without the wild adventure through Riley's inner self. The real question is, how will Pixar top this? Can they top it? I'm not even sure the long-awaited Incredibles sequel will hold water to this animated masterpiece. Seriously, I don't think this movie takes a single step out of place, and that's a rare feat. The Oscars might not appreciate this brilliance, but I sure do. Thus, I'm officially naming Inside Out as the best film of the year. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, help me out with the likes, subs, and share it all over social media. Coming up next is the DCOM review featuring the Minutemen, so get excited for that. Until then...
What up? I got something to say.
When I leave, believe I'm starving, but when I come back, boy, I'm coming straight out of town.